Yes, everybody. I see some people joining. We're just getting started. I'm giving you guys a little taste of my man Gemini, who's going to be featured today on my AMA. Some footage you may not have seen before. I think this one was in Kansas City, 2005. Best of the best. What up, everybody? How you guys doing? I was just showing you a little bit of some teaser clips with the special guest that's joining me today. We got my man Gemini from France. He's going to be tuning in. I'm just waiting for him to let me know that he's ready. That last Judge demo, I'm not exactly sure where that was from. You'd have to ask G. What up? What up, Mike? Poppin' Mike. Iron Mike in the house. I see a lot of people have been joining. Treplock, Killoff, Aaron, Long, Anissa, In Your Face. Oh, Chunky from Singapore. Raghavan from India. We got Smile. We got a whole bunch of people. Zeus is here. Kipros, Vitor Lock. Yes. DJ Sonic. A whole lot of people from all around the world. This is crazy. We got some old school heads in the house. Shout out to Marvin Columbus. Julia from Russia. Yeah, man, a lot of people here today. So, as you guys know, this is I'm calling this an Ask Me Anything, an AMA, but it's not necessarily directed just for me, because I have Gemini coming in. I wanted the focus to be more on you guys getting a chance to ask Gemini some questions and getting some feedback from him on his thoughts and stuff. Because I did an AMA about 2 weeks ago, and yeah, it turned out pretty good. For those that were there, you guys asked some really good questions, and now I just wanted to open it up for some of my other influences, my teachers, my mentors, and have a chance to have kind of a discussion that, similar to, when I have a conversation with Gemini, or if I have a conversation with anybody that I look up to, we were able to go back and forth and learn a lot of stuff. And, the big thing is being able to ask questions, and Gemini's always been super open for that. So, yeah, I'm going to carry the conversation, but what I really like is for you guys to leave some questions, right? So there's a question box at the bottom of this window. So that's it, guys. We are ready to start. If you have any questions, I'm just going to put my screen up here. If you guys have any questions, there is a question box at the bottom here. It should be maybe in the corner. I think it's right here. It's a big question mark. Enter your questions there. I'm going to go through those, and I'm going to start asking Gemini questions that you guys suggest. All right. While we're waiting for those questions to come in, shout out to Tash. Tash has joined the conversation. While we're waiting for those questions to come in, I'm going to just ask you, G, because, we haven't spoken in a while. It's been a crazy week. I think we should first, more than anything, just give recognition to Don Scramblelock. He passed away last week. It was tough. If you got any thoughts on that, why don't you say something about that now? Because it was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, the father of locking, the father of almost street dancing, because he was like the person who started all, like in a way. And, I think it was a shock, like, for everybody. And also, I'm glad that a few years they told him that he will receive that recognition, but it took a lot of time. I remember it's like almost like 10 years ago, they were already talking about it. And I'm glad that he received that recognition before he passed. And yeah, much love to his family and everybody. I mean, it was a big shock. I mean, 2020 it's a crazy year, for many reasons. And without Don Campbell, so the father of locking, for sure.
Yeah, man, it's been super crazy to hear that happened. We all give our love to Don. Locking for Life, we had a tribute video dedicated to Don, but like everybody all around the world, I've been seeing tributes showing up everywhere, and it's it's tough, man. Especially like you said, with what's going on, people being in quarantine, we can't get out to LA, we can't go and give respect, in person or see the street signs. So it's really tough, but I know a lot of people have love and are grateful for having this dance. And maybe I'll ask one question is, what was your first experience meeting Don Campbell?
Oh, it was the first time I went to LA. I went in LA the first time in 2000. And yeah, it was crazy because I went to the B-Boy Summit and Don was there. Richie Rich introduced me to him. And actually, this is, I met him right before we did that interview with Richie. And I don't know if you've seen that. I mean, you saw it, but the interview with Don Campbell when he talks with Richie Rich about like how he was happy to see young generation embracing his dance, and he was giving us a lot of empowering and a lot of good things to develop our ideas and be ourselves, and he was really encouraging. So B-Boy Summit 2000 is when I first met him, and I had the privilege to dance with him many times in cyphers. I even do a handshake with him. It was a really nice moment for me because I was very like, everybody was telling me, hey, that's Don Campbell, you gotta create the lockers, and I was like very happy to meet him, and a very, very nice person. Always, like I said, always giving good messages for the young generation to be themselves, to really develop your own identity through the dance. So, much love to him. It was very, very good moments. B-Boy Summit 2000. I think for many dancers, like the B-Boy Summit 2000, the first few years, like till 2006, I think it was a lot of time. Like many OGs showed up to the B-Boy Summit, so we could have meet them, talk to them, have their point of view. So it was really interesting.
It was definitely a legendary time. Actually, my first time I met Don was actually the same time I met you, right? Because I went
Uh-huh.
in 2004, which was kind of one of the near the end of the B-Boy Summit's like annual events. So the first time I met him was when I met you the first time, and I remember we were actually both in the same class. We took Don's class because he was
Yeah.
teaching. He was one of the first to teach locking workshops around that time, I believe.
Uh-huh.
It was right when locking workshops were really starting to get more popular. So I remember
Mm.
being there.
Yeah.
It's a crazy time, man.
Yes. Dope. Dope memories. Great memories.
All right, so for people who don't really know too much about your story, why don't, before I get into the questions, um, why don't you share a little bit about where you come from, what your story is all about? For those that know, I mean, you guys already know, but there's a lot of younger generation lockers joining our discussion today. So, um, yeah, let's fill everybody in on your history because you got a lot of history and you've done a lot of stuff over the years, and I think it's important people know where your roots are.
Yeah. So, like I started dancing like in the early 90s, and I was the first person I've met. Name was Claes, and his family because he has also a bigger brother named Eric and Richard. They're the guys who really introduced me to the dance and the culture. And I'm from originally from the north side of Paris, the north side suburb, the 93 area, how we call it. And through Claes, I started to get into my journey into dance. Uh, Claes is a very famous old school guy from France, and he's mostly a popper, but he was doing also all type of street dancing. So I started with him. Then I was surrounded by people like first generation jazz rock. The jazz rock in France is first style of street dance before popping, locking, and came to France. So I was privileged to meet all those guys and be surrounded with those guys. So let's say like because in the 90s it was really like the hip hop culture and the Running Man and that style. So that was my generation, the golden years of hip hop. But at the same time, I was surrounded by old school guys who were doing more popping and locking at the time and also b-boying, so and jazz rock. So
Mm.
I start early 90s with those guys. Um, to make it short, I connect with many dancers from the 90s. Later on, I connected with Junior Almeida, who's a first generation of street dancers in Paris. Very important time for me because this is where Junior really uh, pushed me to make my research about the history of what the style we were doing because at the time we didn't have many information in France, no many videos, no many information about the style, so it was more like a mixture of little things we see here and there, like the movie Breaking or some videos, things like that. So to go deeper in the culture, I started to go in the States. First of all, I went in 97 to New York because I was very connected to the cast of Jam on the Groove, Get Original, Rock City Crew, because
Yes.
they used to come a lot in France. I try to make it very fast because there's many things, but
You're
uh,
actually. I remember you get a cameo in Mr. Wiggles.
mhm,
What was it? The Seven Gems
yeah,
Break magazine
yeah,
where
Mr.
they
Wiggles,
interview all you
Mr.
guys.
Wiggles, yeah, Mr. Wiggles, Popmaster Fable at Desola, big influence, big inspirations. Again, at the time, the language barrier made it a bit difficult to understand everything, but 97, I went to the Rock City Crew anniversary to make my research. Luckily, I met Mr. Penguin from the original Lockers. At the time, it was more a b-boying approach, b-boying mindset, because we were not exposed to the funk culture as much as New York and the hip hop culture and breaking. So, Ken Swift, there's many people from New York like who influenced me a lot. Then from those guys from 97, I started to be aware that locking was funk culture and I should go to LA. Then I went to LA the first time in 2000 to to make my research. And then from that point, I started to meet all the originals and not only the originals, like the lockers from LA and Vegas and different parts of the States to make my research and to see the full history till nowadays. So I was really interested about that. So B-Boy Summit, like I said earlier, was like the turning point. See, this is where I start to really connect it to Don, Greg, Lucky Luke, Shabadoo, many originals, Luz Caboose, Richie Rich, many people over there. And then I start to make my research. And at the time, I was coming back to France, bringing the information I took from those trips and share with Junior, who also at the time had many information. So we were sharing and we kind of helped the scene to grow in France because we were both bringing information and share to the further generation who came after us. After that, same, I decided to make a movie documentary with the filmmaker Paul Bellettre, who was working at the time with Benji, B-Boy Benji. He was just making some project with him, and then we met, and we decided to do a movie called movie documentary, like it's a bit in between, called Obsessive Funk. And then after that, I started to travel around the world to share and learn about the style and develop my ideas and concepts. So I did many things around the locking dance style. And later on, with my friend Priska, we started a concept at the time was Locking for Life, who later on become like kind of a movement. And yeah, that's like the big line, we'd say.
So that's a lot to take in right there. This is what, over 20 years of work, almost 30 years. Yeah. Where are you at now?
30. Yeah, I really started dancing seriously in '89. 1989 is the year I really start to get into it for real, and I really want to make because at the time with my family, especially my father, it was not easy to make him like understand what I wanted to do, and especially be a dancer and stuff like that. So it was a bit tough in the beginning, but I find ways to make him accept it. And actually, he's in the movie Obsessive Funk also, playing his role.
So, yeah, first of all, number one, I gotta give a shout out to Asia One and the B-Boy Summit, because that event was like the bridge, seriously, between the old school generation and the generation of you coming in, and then it was the link to our generation, because we would see you guys on, clips like Style to Oeuf. And before YouTube came out, there was tons of clips that you guys had, and it was from your footage at the B-Boy Summit. So you inspired our generation as well. And that's why I've always said that, like, you and people, lockers of your generation, like Flowmaster and other lockers, have been the bridge between us and the old school, because you guys kept it going at a time when it was like people were trying to figure out what was going on. So I got to give a shout out to the B-Boy Summit Asia One. And the other thing I got to say straight up is, like, yo, if you guys have not seen Obsessive Funk, you need to watch it. That is available online. I know you can find it on YouTube if you look for it.
Yeah, Facebook also.
Yeah, it's on Facebook too.
Yeah.
Like, seriously, y'all need to watch that, because this was, again, I tell them so everybody knows the connection is because I saw that video, and then meeting Richie and then understanding how you went and met every single one of the original lockers, every single old school locker that you could possibly meet. You did that, and you took the time to do that. And like, because of this, it was like, whoa, I want to do that. I want to do the same thing. So you inspired me to follow that path. And I know you've inspired so many others to do the same thing as well. So, straight up, big ups for that. Big ups for Obsessive Funk, for doing Obsessive Funk.
Actually, about Obsessive Funk, I'd like to say something, since we lost Don Campbell recently. He was supposed to be in the movie, but because he had problem with the time with Greg, like personal problems, so it was a bit complicated, because my idea was to put everybody with different point of view, different opinion. I wanted to have everybody in a fiction story. At first, we thought to make a documentary, but it was very sensitive because different point of views and things like that. So this is why we came out with a fiction. And the idea was to bring as maximum of old school lockers in the DVD. Tony Gogo was supposed to be in also, and we had difficulties to shot. Skeeter Rabbit from the Little Boogaloos was supposed to be in also, but again, problem with schedule and things like that. But you know, it was a project for like, we spent like 2 years to finish it. And everybody welcomed it really well. It was very nice experience. Um, and the idea was just to share like the different point of view. It was very important at the time because like I didn't want locking to be settled in a box. So it was just like, you know, you watch the movie, you enjoy the dancer you like, that's it. You know, you just pick what you like.
Yeah,
that was the concept.
and for sure, I mean, like, yeah, a lot of people always ask how come certain lockers weren't in that film, and it's out of respect because some of them asked not to be involved or there was some issues. So yeah, everything you did from that film, you definitely went about it in the right way, and things turned out the way they did. Um, but yeah, it's definitely a monumental film, really important for our locking scene. I think you did a good job on that, man. Like, all the respect on this. Okay, are you ready for some questions?
Let's go.
Man.
So what's up? Thank you everybody for joining. I cannot see it because I'm not on Instagram right now. So just to say hello to everybody. Let's go for the questions.
Yeah, so we'll try maybe seeing if we can link up. We couldn't get Gemini to link up the shared video on Instagram. I don't know what was going on, but we'll see. So some questions are coming in, and I'm going to go through them. Again, if you guys have questions, which I hope you do, because now is your chance to ask them. In the bottom here, there should be a question mark here at the bottom. You can type in your question and add them there. You could put them in the comments section, but I'm going to be more likely to read from the questions section already. So there's some spicy ones already coming in, but I'll start with a basic one since we were already talking about Obsessive Funk. Vitor Locke has asked if you plan to do Obsessive Funk 2.
Yes, I'm planning to do it. I already wrote the script, and now it's just to make sure to make it, or try to make it even better than the first one. You know, like I really want to take my time to make it, but the main script is written, and yes, it might come. I don't know when, but I'm still working on it to fix some little details, you know, organize things. I asked a few people already to be in, and like again, like people are very happy about it because many people ask me that, and yes, it's on the process. Let's say it's on the process. I don't know where. I mean, when it will be released, but we haven't started yet. But I mean, I'm writing all the ideas, and the script is mainly finished.
That's what's up, man.
Yeah,
that's what's up. That actually, I'm so surprised to hear this too. So that's really nice. All right, so Gemini's answered that question. We're good on here. I'm going to close that one. Okay, somebody asked here if you can give your definition of what funk is and what funk is in relation to locking. I know everybody always asks this question, but again, it's always good to hear different perspectives. The last time I did an AMA, I kind of explained my approach on funk, and I also used Tony Gogo because there was a video of him talking about funk. But why don't you explain what funk is for you and how it relates to locking?
Okay, I think the answer of Tony Gogo is the deepest I've heard. You know, like it's a really good definition. If I can add something to what he said, it was like, yeah, to me, it's like just expressing yourself, feeling free to the music, really embrace the music, feeling connected to the music. It's really, I think it's when you don't think, you just go with the flow. And yes, that would be maybe my definition. Like it's not like if you want to go, like you know, like Tony Gogo say about the term funk come from the smell funk, you know, when people sweating and stuff like that. Like there's a dirtiness into it, like because people are getting really into it. And but I would say like really really feel free and embrace the music and what you get from the music, and let your body and mind express yourself. That would be funky. Like when you think about what you have to do, when you think about how you should move and think that you start to make barrier in your mind, I think it's when funky is. It's when just totally free and you're just enjoying yourself with the music. That would be my definition of being funky.
Has that kind of changed for you over the years, like your perspective of it and that understanding of what it means to be free? Has that changed for you in over the years?
Yeah, definitely, because there's things I was, like I said earlier, I grew up with jazz rock dancers, Christian, Bertin, Dominique Lesdema, Richard,
Yes, yes.
Alex Bent, you know, all the Jeux de Jambes, Passe-Passe,
Shout out to Jules
and
Jean Passe.
Petit Robert, you know, all those guys, like I was surrounded by those guys and they were already super funky at the time. And, but I was not catching things. And with years and experiences, I started to understand more. Sometimes because you focus on the technique, you're missing the funk because you're trying to be correct with the technique or to execute steps correctly. You're missing the funk. So I think it's my goal was to find a balance between that, let it go, and at the same time to be kind of precise with my movement and my shapes. So I think, you know, I had a very interesting discussion one day with Jazzy J about it. Jazzy J from the NCT Rockers. He was telling me, like, you know, sometimes he said, damn, yeah, you're very clean in your movement, but, you know, for some people, too clean is not funky because you need to be a bit more dirty in a way, you know? And that was always my thing. So it was like, yeah, you know, but he told me, yeah, I wish I can be clean like that sometimes. And yeah, well, I wish I can be like how you do, like feeling like the music how you do. So I think it's a balance between the two in my concern. And with the years, I think I navigated between maybe too technical, and then I was like, maybe I was trying to be too funky or too like I was between the two. So I think to me nowadays is to be in between the both, to really enjoy myself dance and feeling the music, and at the same time have enjoying make nice shapes and nice technique at the same time. I think together is what I enjoy the most.
I mean, with anything, I always found that like you have a balance between the two, it's gonna help you, right? Because you know
Yeah,
if you have that cleanliness and that technique, that puts your level and understanding of the moves on a higher level. But then if you're able to let loose and be free in the music, that's also going to help open up a whole world of possibilities for you too.
yeah.
I know
And
this is
I think it's available in every style of dance. You know, when you see somebody who got a really good technique, but at the same time he can play and let it go in between the lines and stuff. That's very nice. That's what I like actually. Um, yeah. So yeah, that would be my answer for that one.
awesome. Okay, I'm going to go into the questions box. Again, I see some of you guys are asking questions in the comments. That's great. I'm going to get to those as much as I can, but I'm also going to handle the questions in the question box at the bottom left of your screen. So please put your questions in there. That's the best place for me to check through them. Okay, so what do I see here? Yeah, there's a few good ones here. Oh yeah, so Zeus asked a few questions. I'm going to get to both of them, but the one she asked to start us off, any tips you have in order to have longevity in the game, both in terms of physically being in shape for a long period of time and keeping relevant? I think that's a great question. Uh, Tell us your experiences, because I know you're still on point. I was able to train with you last year, and it was like mind blowing, the stuff that you're doing. So, can you share a little bit about this?
Yeah, I mean, I still, yeah, I love that. I love to dance. I think it's really a big part of my life. Many things in my life are connected to dance. So I think, you know, it's just part of the process, and I really like to be active. So to being in shape always been a part of my life also. And so as far as the longevity, I think it's just to keep connected to the younger generation, and also to what happened in the past and what's happening now. You know, to be able to connect it to the new school and the old school in a way. You know, like to be not not in the box. You know, and understanding. And I think for me personally, the fact that I travel a lot helped me a lot to keep it up with what's happening in different perspective. And also I really like that. I think locking is stronger when you have different interpretation, different point of views and things. And So it's always been my idea to be able to understand different point of views and talk, have nice discussions, and communicate a lot about the style. And so this, I think, is very important. And yes, like the way I practice, I always push myself, you know, with all my students, no matter if they're like 10 years old or 15 or even any age. I always go like with them. I don't put myself as the teacher and you know, like I put myself at the same thing. Like we have to go as much as hard as them. Like you came last time when you came visit me, you know, it was like this. You know, we had many sessions.
Yep.
And we were going at it like all the time. You know, like so I always try to push myself. I love to I do session almost like every 2 days, let's say. I always have session when I teach. I always go full out. Also, I love to teach. So all those things keep me in shape, I guess.
And staying relevant too. I mean, you in your classes, you play a lot of different music. We see, you know, we were on you making use of technology. I think too is an important thing too. You know, like staying current with what technology. Even just being here and doing a conversation like this, I think is an important way, because I know that there's a lot of younger people who are watching through this outlet. So this is definitely
like something like you say is true. Like with the music, what I love to do is like, when I practice with different students, I tell them to play the music sometimes. It's not like because I'm the teacher, I play all the time the music. So I let them play their music. And for me, I love to dance to music I don't know. So it's very cool to keep relevant as far as the music. Like try to develop my dance to music I don't know, or different music I don't have in my playlist. So it's very interesting to dance to different. And also like when I go to different practice spots or things like that with some b-boys, some jazz rockers or poppers, always trying to get like the vibes from different type of music. So yes, this is a good point.
actually, I think it's really empowering what you said about letting the students sometimes play the music, because like you said, it kind of breaks that barrier, and it helps you kind of learn what new music is out there too. So yeah, that's a good one. That's a really good one. Okay, what else? Oh yeah, this is a good one. What do you think about some people's opinion that locking is not a battle dance style and that it's more for entertainment?
Why not both? Why not both? Why do we have to put locking in one category? Why do popping can be a battle dance but locking cannot be a battle dance? I don't understand that. It's just a game. To me, the way I learned what battle is from my teacher, PlayStation, basically.
Okay, cool. All right, so we're back. Unfortunately, we had to take a bit of a break because Instagram kicks us off. You were saying some really good things about ciphers, about the cipher aspect being lost in the scene today. I think it's great that you said that, because we went to a couple events in the past, and it was like, this was the one thing that I love the most about locking, is seeing the locking ciphers. And then, you know, now we go to events and there's so much focus on battles that like that is actually missing. And for me, my generation, I came from, you know, from a generation where the ciphers were super important, and I know you did too, like before me even. And just the feeling of that cipher is I think so important for the younger generation to understand and witness, because it's this completely different vibe.
So. Yes, definitely. And to me, you know, maybe it will come like that's the only thing I regret in the scene right now. There's I think locking is really well represented in many ways, many ways. You can see many people doing great shows and competition, and there's like many things you can see locking. But the cipher is something like, I don't know why, but the cipher disappear. And I think again, to elevate the art form in this part of the culture, again, you will notice that many OGs talking about the importance of clubbing. And what do you do in clubs? You party, and then you have ciphers. And to me, that's when people ask me what I think is missing nowadays. It will be my answer: the ciphers. Like sometimes people they just come and it become more like they go, they warm up, and then they go to competition. And if they get they're getting out of the competition, then they stretch and they finish.
It's almost like an audition for a show or
Exactly.
something like this.
It looks like an audition, yeah. And nothing wrong with that, but I think why not having ciphers, because ciphers is where you can really dance, and especially when you travel and you take a lot of hours to go to an event, and you just go, you don't pass qualification, and that's it. You're watching the show, and I mean, like, I think ciphers, it's really important, and actually I will do my best to bring it back. Like anytime, everywhere I will go, I'll try to get into ciphers, like we did at the summer. You know, we try to, but I think it's like people are like maybe they're not used to it. Or
do you think? Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask. Do you think they're afraid? Do you think there's like people are nervous to enter ciphers because they know that there might be somebody there that's going to make them feel vulnerable? I don't know. This is a.
Yeah. I think so. I think it's because it's pressure. It's not the same as rounds in the battles. You know, like you can be in a situation when you can dance non-stop. I remember actually talking about that at Bust a Move, we had so much fun at the after party. Just coming back to my mind, with Bruce, with Tash, we were dancing our ass off in the cipher, and you know, it was so crazy because the best it was when it's like cipher, but then you don't stuck in a cipher. You know, a cipher party, the cipher was like exploding, and then he was coming back to a cipher, and this is like this. I remember that Juanito at the summer, we were in the middle of the dance floor, and we see the poppers, they were doing their cipher like normal, and the lockers are around, but nobody. Then he tell me, hey, why? And I said, okay, let's do it. And I push him, and we do another one. And again, like some people, I think, where I guess maybe sometimes people they're focused so much on the competition that they're a bit stressed, and they don't want to maybe to lose energy or to lose moves in the ciphers. I think maybe it can be this, or just stressing about like to face somebody or something. But cipher is not about that. Cipher is just part of the club aspect. So I guess, I mean,
it's a human aspect too.
Yes. And cipher is, to me, is the only thing I can tell from my perspective missing nowadays, like compared to prior years.
Shout out, got to give a shout out because you mentioned Bust a Move. Shout out to Spicy for Bust a Move. She organized this big event in Montreal for over almost a little bit over 10 years, a little bit more than that, I think. But yeah, legendary event here in Canada. A lot of people came out for it. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen anymore, but yeah, definitely a legendary event. And also shout out to Bruce for Just Debout. You know, actually, I'm going to lead into a few questions because there's a few people that have asked about the future of locking. Where do you see locking going? And I think it's interesting because, you know, we haven't had a chance to really talk about this, but, you know, with Just Debout coming to an end and what you're saying right now about, like, you know, you want to see more ciphers in the locking scene and whatnot, and just, you know, where do you think the future is heading for locking in the scene today? Like, where do you think we're going? I mean, we're at a point now where the world is a little bit uncertain, but from what you've seen over the years, where do you think the direction is heading, and what do you think the options can be for this coming generation of where to take it?
I think that if Bruce don't bring back the Just Debout in other forms, even if in other forms, it would be a big loss, because I think Just Debout was a very good exposure for locking, especially those past few years. So I guess all the people in the world who love locking should support each other and be active. That's the future of locking. If we all push the art form, if we all support each other, sounds maybe a bit cliche, but I think that's the future of locking will be there. Like, it's just by doing action, doing things, and I see. Like I said, like the scene right now is really nice to me. Like I'm enjoying what I see. You know, even on the social media, you can see a lot of new faces, a lot of new things. Of course, you have some countries they just have a few lockers here and there. It's not like every country have a big scene. But when you combine everything, I think it's much better than than the early 2000 when it was just a few people like really interested. I think now there's a very strong generation, a lot of new people coming up, and so I just expect locking to be in every type of format and everywhere like people can bring it to, you know. So if we can do nice video projects, if we can do nice shows, if we can do anything, like to me, I think locking is here and it's very strong. I never compare locking to other style like you know, like there's more b-boys than lockers or things like this. I think it's just exposure and activity. You know, we need to be active and push the art form.
And when you're saying actions, like when you're saying actions, can you go a little bit more into definition of this? What kind of actions do you think? Is it just entering a battle, or is there more to it?
Entering battles, organize events, support events from other people, share videos, any type of things you can push that art form to be seen and to grow, you know. So it's just as soon as you see new people doing it, young generation doing it with their music, with their interpretation, you know, maybe sometimes you will not appreciate the music they use or the way they do it or their technique or something, but it's still part of the locking, you know. There's many, I think it just, you know, like when you listen to what Don Campbell used to say, we have to be creative with the lock. And it's this is the beginning and the future of locking to me, what Don Campbell said. Be creative, push the dance, don't be scared, you know, and you know, connect with the people. Of course, you know, sometimes it's hard because we have different point of views, we have like some misunderstanding or miscommunications, but to me, the future of locking it's on the way, and we just need to do more. And especially as soon as Just the Boo stopped for now, I think that every year Just the Boo was making locking a very nice presentation. You know, it was very nice to see many lockers from all around the world with different styles of locking and stuff. So, like I said, these past few years was very good for locking. I can see that sometimes, like there's some years like locking was kind of taking out of some events, but now I see it's coming back. I've seen some countries, they really push for their scenes, you know. I want to give a shout out to Ghetto Funk, for example. Ghetto Funk in Roshi and Chi, and these guys over there, they're doing a lot of things. You can see a lot of things coming up from Netherlands. Russia is crazy, you know, like Cyprus also do a lot of things, and Japan, China, there's a lot of things. So as soon as everybody in every country push, that's the future of locking. That's how I can see it.
Tash made a comment. She made a comment just while you were speaking and said community is key. And I definitely have to agree with her. And I think what you're saying is also related to this, that the building of the community is super important. So
yeah. That's the future. You know, we are on it already. So I think we are in a really good state from my point of view. I think the dark years of locking are way back. And now it's like you can see, like I said, a lot of new school guys and girls, and you can see a lot of new people coming up and doing things. And like Tash said, you know, unity is the key. You know, we don't have to feel the same. We don't have to have the same point of views. But again, Greg Campbell Jr., rest in peace, he was my main teacher, and he used to tell me, like, you cannot talk bad about another locker. You can disagree and didn't like his style or stuff, but we have to support each other, because if you support him, he will support you, and then we can move on.
yes.
So I think it's about unity and communication, and it doesn't mean like you know, when you go in the battle, you can push to do your best and stuff, but it doesn't mean like the competition aspect will make something bad about it. You know, you just bring another aspect. It push you to go to the next level and push yourself. And then you know, like if we can imagine new concept, new ideas, you know, like sometimes, you know, you can see like some new school lockers bringing some new ideas, new concept, new videos, new ideas. So this, everybody has to be creative. Like Don Campbell used to say, you know, like be creative with it. So if we be creative, we push and we support each other. Sometimes it takes time to appreciate somebody's dance, you know, because sometimes you need time to develop and finish the final style that you want to develop. But as long as we have creativity, different options, different ideas, I see that as a force. I never try to think that, oh, this guy or this girl do not do locking, and this one is the right locking, this one is wrong. I don't like that type of mentality. I think everybody should push for what they believe, and we agree to disagree.
Okay, so this is kind of leading into some of the other questions that I'm seeing here in the question section. I'm getting questions about people dancing with, you know, with how is he saying it here? People dance crazy and call it as funk, getting funky. But people misunderstand what locking is and it becomes watered down. What do you think about like the balance between this freedom movement and this, you know, dancing with structure? And is it watering down the scene, or what do you think about all this? I don't know. I tried to answer that question because there was a few of them that was asked that.
Yeah.
So
I get the point.
Yeah.
To me, the best reference, again, Don Campbell and the originals. You watch all of them. You watch Shab, you watch Fluky, you watch Greg, Penguin. Check them out. Check the way they lock. That's the original style, how we call it. Look at Don Campbell dance. Look at the content. I don't see them like throw their arms and running around. And no, you can see a structure in all of them. So I remember that time when some people were trying to make it almost sound like technique is bad and you have to be free and funky and stuff. But I don't see that with the original rockers. And this is the source. When you watch Lucky Luke, is it too technical? Do Shabadoo is too technical? Do Greg is too technical? I remember Greg, the way he used to teach very sharp points and movement. And so technique is very important in the style. If you see the lockers in Soul Train, you can notice them. Why? Because they have the locking style and the locking technique. If you talk about being free, like the other dancers of Soul Train, of some of them, that's not locking. So if you dance like a Soul Train dancer inside the locking competition, the person who will do locking will pass, in my eyes. It's not about doing who can be the most free and this. So I think sometimes, in my opinion, in my point of view, that sometimes people are getting lost by being too far away of the technique because they think technique is a bad thing. But again, in every dance style, technique is a very strong component of your dance. So being funky, when I see Michael Jackson, James Brown, and I can name dancers and entertainers, are they technical? When you see popping, is it technical? Are they funky? I don't see them, destroy the technique of popping to be funky. No, they are funky with technique. I think in 2020, I'm still amazed that people are still talking about that. I think when if I look at Soul Train and I see the lockers in there, it's super technical and super funky at the same time. So, and the originals are the foundation, are the source. So this is the first ones you should watch. I never see them, and I've been with them in clubs. I even did shows with some of the originals a few times, and I never heard them tell me like, yeah, just drop some soul dancing and just drop like it's a party. No, they always talk about steps and the importance of technique. Even Don Campbell, do it with the lock, and it doesn't mean just the lock with the elbow, the points, the lock your move. So it's like a popper. I always make the comparison with popper. If you pop like this, your shoulder, you will not pass qualification. So why do lockers like this pass? That will be my question. Sometimes I don't understand that. It's not because I don't like the person or this person try to be free or something. I think there is a technique in the dance. In b-boying, if you don't stop your freeze, that's not a freeze. If you don't lock your joints, that's not locking. No matter what the shape you do, can you see that locking the joints to the rhythm of the beat? Can you see that original style, like that locking style? That's what I'm looking for. Same when I'm watching popping. I don't want to see people like this and saying, oh, I'm more free. And no, they pop. everybody pop.
I
You
think
don't see somebody popping with the shoulder going qualification in popping. So why do locking have to be like, oh, no, yeah, they have to be more funky? And I think there's a confusion still nowadays.
I think actually it's interesting because I always think about like, you know, martial arts, kung fu film, and you hear of like fighters like Bruce Lee who've trained thousands of hours doing certain moves, but there's a freedom that comes with it after a period of time too. And I know it's like we've been doing these fundamental moves in locking all our lives, but we still go back and work on them.
Yeah, and again, I have to add this too. Being too technical is not a good option either. Again, like I said earlier, if you become just like you do one step after the others, and there's no flow, there's no groove, there's no funk, now you're missing something. So sometimes you can see like some people, they're very free with their dance. They're not really technical, but they have something really good in them. And there's some, I think I see the same thing on people who are maybe more technical, but there's something good in it too. So I think it's a balance again.
Yes.
But when I see the lockers, I'm sorry. When some people like, there's nobody funkier than the lockers. I've never seen anybody more funky than the lockers. And why? Because you can see the technique and the funk at the same time.
Where do you think that balance comes from? Because they didn't have battles. They didn't like how
power. Like Scooby-Doo say, power.
Oh.
First time I judged an event with Scooby-Doo, he was wondering why those people, they were singing the song, moving around. He was like, lock, just lock. And if you have a chance, meet Scooby-Doo, go to his class, learn from him, you will see what he talk about. Is he too technical? Do Scooby-Doo is too technical? I think it's just about being powerful. It's a powerful dance, foundation, and then from those foundation and vocabulary, you can extend. I don't think that doing less technique will bring you back to the future of locking. I think you can be super soulful, super funky, and with little moves. Little moves. You don't need to do too much technique. You know, so it's a balance at the end of the day, in my opinion.
Word up. I agree on that. Okay.
And you have certain style. This is why, like, just to finish, you see some people's style. You have people that do little moves, little technique, but it looks really on point. It looks super cool. You can feel the good energy from them. And then you have people, they want to express themselves with more angles, more technical things. It's just a freedom of expression, like Don Campbell say. What do you want to do? You want to do, do you enjoy doing shapes and things, take a step and do it in different angles? Do you like that? Or you like to be more like really connected to soul steps with a little bit of locking technique? I love them both. You know, depending on the music, I dance both. I'm not hyper technical. I'm not no technique. I'm trying to balance depending on the music.
And that's such a hard thing to find for a lot of people. I mean,
yes,
I come from the too technical side, right? Like I didn't have that experience of being free in that sense. So it's taken me a long time, and I think we're all on different stages in that journey in different positions. So we're all trying to find that point of balance for our lives
and
as
you
dancers.
can see that in the lockers too. Again, watch the lockers. They don't have the same interpretation of the dance. Don Campbell is definitely, in my opinion, the ones who were the most free into his dance. But you can see the technique. I mean, you can see the lock. That's what makes him special in the beginning. And you don't see him like, I mean, in what I've seen from him, he was not somebody who was doing a lot of soul steps and things. Locking is a soul dance, in my opinion, also. But he didn't display like all the funky chicken, the funky. It's just cable locking, you know, and you can see the soul, the funk. It's powerful technique, and it's the beginning of everybody else. Everybody starts from these guys. So I think the new school sometimes should always relate to the originals, and this is what Greg Campbell used to call recall. He used to tell us to always look for new ideas, develop some ideas, that's fine, but sometimes go back to the source, watch again, like just to get back that original feeling. And this you will blend the two, and your style will be on top.
Word up. Okay, time to answer some other questions here. Yeah, here's a good one.
Where are the spicy ones?
We're getting there. What do you think? I don't know how this is a bit weird written, but what do you think that there are men who say that many girls dance like men. I think this question can help many women. This is coming from Izaskun. Izaskun, maybe you can clarify.
Izaskun, ¿cómo estás, hermanita?
Actually, while you're saying this in Spanish, somebody else said maybe hopefully someday we can do something in Spanish because there's a lot of people from Latin America tuning in.
Y para mí es una locura. Cuando estás una chica, puedes bailar como tú quieres. Es una preferencia personal. Es para tú. So for me, it's like I'm saying that it's just what you like. There's no gender. You know, there's no gender. I never understood that statement. I heard it many times by some other dancers. I never understand. A girl can dance how she wants. I think sometimes maybe some guys are afraid when they see a powerful girl. Maybe that's the reason why they think like this. I love to see girls expressing herself. So no matter what she chooses to do, if she want to be powerful, if she want to be girly or not girly, it's like the guys and girls we do dancing. There's no gender in locking. I think you just do how you feel.
Yeah, and I think that comes back to what Don always says, right? Like, be yourself, put yourself into the dance, and go from there.
Yeah.
So
I never understood that statement. I never understood. I heard that about Izaskun. I heard that about Funky J. Sometimes also people were like, "Yeah, you don't smile enough. You too much like with your hat and thing." It's personal. It's personal. It's free. Freedom of expression by Don Campbell. So you do how you want. You know. And again, maybe some guys are just a bit afraid when they see a powerful girl. That's my point of view.
Mm-hmm. Hi guys, I think the lockers were breaking the internet because every time we talk, we're talking about like some really intense topics right now, and every time we do, it's like the whole world is shaking. We were just about to get into a discussion about locking styles, and then I think everybody lost connection. So I rejoined again. We're back one more time. Gemini's still here. Again, though, for some of you guys who were leaving questions, they all got cleared again. So you'll have to ask them again. In the meantime, Iron Mike says, "What's up?" By the way.
What's up?
Yeah.
Mike. Iron Mike.
Okay, so some people are coming back into this discussion. So let's again. I'll ask again what Aaron from Boston said. He mentioned, there are different styles in locking that he's learned, things like the Valley style or London style or different flavors. And he wants to know if there are other styles, other flavors that you are aware of, or that come off the tree of locking or of Campbell locking, and if so, how would you describe them? And can you just talk a little bit about this right now?
Okay, so the flavors, again, you go back from the creation, the source, Don Campbell locking, definitely the first style, and the creation of everything will follow what Don Campbell created. So when you see after the some of the originals, some of them they really develop their flavor. Like when you see the lockers, you can see different flavors in the locker. They're all specials, and I think from there you can see like those flavors branch to the rest of the history about the locking. Because when you see the way Mr. Penguin used to bounce in his locking, he leads to a certain flavor, and then from the way Don Campbell dances Campbell locking style, there's another different flavor, and all together they do the same dance but with different flavors. It's not as clear as when you talk about popping and waving and tutting, and this is different dance styles or technique. But when you talk about locking, it's flavors, let's say, because we use the same dance but in different ways. I think it's because you have the different body types, the different energy, the different interpretation. And then this is just from the original scene. And then after you have the different generation with the music change also. This is where you have generation, they have to keep up with the development of popping, for instance. Like when you see popping in the premier time, and then when you see how popping was developed, did popping become more technical? I think locking was kind of the same way. It become like following the different music, the different generation, and then if you look at the original lockers, like Fluky Luke, for instance, he always talk about the speed locking when he wants to do like a lot of movement really fast. So do dancing fast is wrong, or it's not wrong because look, Fluky Luke is doing it. And then everybody brings some different things. When you see like there is a certain flavor. The Go-Go Brothers, like, I mean, Tony Go-Go songs, like, I love the way they dance. They don't dance like the original Lockers. They have their own flavor. And then just to mention them, there's many people I can mention who have their own flavor. So these type of flavors, you can see enrich the dance, in my opinion. And then you have options. Depending on your body type, what you're feeling like, you can navigate between those styles, or you can even practice and learn different ways, different flavors. I really encourage everybody to practice and learn different flavors. This is what, to me, is important, especially nowadays, because if you go in a situation when you have to freestyle and you have different styles, flavors, or technique, you will have more ways to express the music. So if I heard like you mentioned ballet style is just a flavor that came during the 80s. 80s funk, 80s era, different music, different funk and everything. So it's become like a flavor from a particular region of LA. And then you have in Japan, they develop certain flavors, certain bounce, certain way to move that is really Japanese flavor, in my opinion. London also for Europe was definitely the capital of Europe. London was very like where locking starts to be very influential. From London, he emerged to different countries like Sweden and everything, and then later on even France. So you have a London flavor or technique. Sometimes it's not exactly the original style. It's sometimes people develop their interpretation with no connection with the original, but just by videos they watched. And everybody developed their different styles. So yes, I believe into flavors. I believe into styles. I believe that a locker right now should study different flavor just to give him more option to freestyle.
So a follow-up question to that is, sometimes people say Campbell locking is like dancing and imitating Dawn, right? Like we're seeing a lot of people in the scene, you see them imitating or dancing like Dawn Campbell, and they're saying they're Campbell locking. What do you think about this? What is Campbell locking for you, I guess, is the big question, and how this relates to what Dawn has taught us.
Campbell locking, to me, obviously Don Campbell creation, as the beginning of the locking technique as far as locking your joint, and at the same time freedom of expression through your instinct. Also there is a really strong envy to showcase, to entertain. I remember Don Campbell was always talking about entertain, that was his goal, to entertain, to communicate with the crowd, to move around, give yourself five, give a point to somebody, and like communicate. This is the Campbell locking things, and there's no it's just pure instinct, in my opinion, what I see with the technique of the lock. I always mention that for many years, even from the Mr. Wiggles website a long time ago. I used to always mention in my books, because when I was learning from Greg, Fluky Luke, Shabadoo, even later on with Scooby-Doo, their approach was a little bit different than Don, because they were using steps, a lot of steps and foundation, because this is what happened with locking. It starts with Don Campbell, then right after Don Campbell with Scooby-Doo, you start to have steps to elaborate choreography, and those two made the style. And that's why when you see, to me, there is a slightly difference between Campbell locking and locking. Everything starts with Don Campbell, but when you see the way, this was at the time when it was like a different point of view, because when you were going with Greg, the way he was teaching locking was totally different than Don, but everything was related to Don. So it's always Don first, but Don will tell you to be free with the lock. The others will use more steps. You can see when the lockers dance, like you can see they use more steps than Don Campbell, for example. Like they develop the steps like Scooby-Doo, Scoobot, and all the steps that you can find. So to me, there is a slight difference between when you tell me Campbell locking, that's definitely how Don Campbell dance. The people, like I've seen some people that are really focused on that style. Deizo in Japan, for example, as a teaching point of view and understanding and things, I think it's a good thing because you can, if you never met Don Campbell, never talked to anything, maybe somebody like Deizo can show you because he really study that aspect. At the same time, Don Campbell was always telling you to be unique. So I think it's good to study that, but also to find yourself, like Don Campbell used to say, be creative and be yourself. But as a studying point of view, I think that's, especially now that Don Campbell passed away, I think it's good that there's some people that they can really demonstrate close to what Don Campbell used to dance, you know. So there is there is a good aspect to it, but at the same time, it's not the end. I think it's good as a studying to develop that freedom of expression with the lock. But at the same time, like when Don Campbell used to say all the time, like be yourself and develop your own character and stuff. So this is not the end point, in my opinion.
I feel a lot of the questions that are being asked, you can see this underlying theme of today is that it's all about balance. It really is all about balance. Finding balance in the community, finding balance in your dance, finding balance in taking, you know, the lessons that you've learned over time and make it part of who you are. So this is a recurring theme I'm seeing in a lot of what we're talking about today. Okay, another question. Sometimes I see famous people offbeat dancing. Is it a mistake for my eyes?
No, it's not. It can happen to anybody actually. You know, anybody can miss a beat, and because you can try to, you too much into your freestyle, you can miss the beat. You can be, but then you have also people they don't really dance, they just do sets, and this is terrible when it's like very offbeat. And I am also aware of that. Like sometimes I can see some people, without mentioning names, I can see some things like totally offbeat, but you know, he's famous, so or she's famous, so it's okay. But no, I think anybody can be offbeat for a little bit, you know, because you are too much into you're excited or something. You can or try to do something on the spot and you miss. Anybody, we're human, you know, we're not perfect, we're not machines.
Of course.
But there's sometimes, you know, you have to open your eyes and, you know, clap to your hand and see sometimes. And you know what I used to do when I always tell my friends and stuff about this, if you really want to see the DNA, watch the video of somebody without the music and try to see if you can see the rhythm into his body move without the song. And then sometimes you will be very surprised.
This is what we call that, the litmus test.
Yes, the DNA. Yes, but yes. You clap the way you clap on the beat sometime when you're missing one time, two times, but then you can see when it's a total set, because that's the thing about cypher. If you dance the same way on stage, in a bar, in a cypher, on every style of music, you dance exactly the same way, to me there is a limitation. And is it really freestyle or you're just repeating sets? You know, when I feel good, I feel great. I can do really good solos. I feel really good with myself. I'm having fun. And then sometimes I don't feel the music or I don't feel good. I don't dance as good. You know, we're human. So you can also, you know, miss the beat. You can have like some moments. But pay attention, guys. You know, sometimes you can see some crazy things if you really look at it.
So yeah, do the litmus test. Play videos, listen to see if the dancer is connected.
No sound and watch, and you will see.
You know, when you showed that to me, you showed it to me of the original Lockers without music as the comparison too, right? And this is like if we watch the Lockers any of the original clips without the music, you can see that there's a clear
You
difference.
can see the rhythm, you know. You know, in walking, like when they say, show me the music, you know, you take out the music and you can see in the lockers. I never seen anybody of the original lockers of Beat.
Hmm.
Tell me about that. I never see anybody of them like clapping on the 3 or the 7 or like doing some weird stuff. But, you know, some others do. You have to pay attention, guys. I will not mention names, but I know some of you knows.
All right, that was a good one. I'm glad we got to talk about this because we've had many discussions about this, and I think it's important. Again, it's just about having a conversation and being critical about
Yes.
what we do too. You know, do you think the lockers? Do you think lockers like in the world have become more lazy as the years have passed?
No, I think no, 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 no. I will not say that. I think it's just a different type of generation, different type of information access. Um, during the 90s or even the early 2000s, it was not a lot of people were really into looking for information. I think it's the same now. I think it's about the same. No, I will not say that it's lazy or something. No, the thing is they have more chances to connect with people and easier way to get information. That's the only difference.
Hmm. What do you think about like? Because I want to see if this relates to one of the questions I had seen about. Somebody had mentioned something earlier about mentoring, and you know, there's a question here about what is your approach to teaching kids, and I think we can kind of group this question all together in the sense of, you know, young people of this generation, um, maybe looking for mentorship, maybe looking to learn, maybe you know, reaching out to us online, ask questions, like you know, I think it's if I could formulate some of these questions that are being asked in one shot, like what is your approach to teaching kids and how do you think this relates to like a mentoring aspect?
Human connection, you know, talking about this, like sometimes people send me videos without saying hello and just say, what do you think of my solo? Or like they throw you videos and we never met before. I never talked to you. I don't know. You just send me videos like many people do. I think it's just manners. I think it's just reaching out, you know, and do not hesitate to communicate. I think it's the same as before, but before we didn't have so much social media, so it was more like direct connection. I went to LA to meet as much as I could of people. I went there to meet a lot of people, and I went there and I was going direct. Sometimes I even meet people I was not a big fan of, or I didn't really like their style, but I just went to talk and see. And another thing is, again with the cipher, I never judge somebody just because I see him in a couple of rounds in the bell or if I see him do a judge demo. If I really know somebody, if I dance like a good hour with the person,
Hmm.
when a lot of music passed, this is where I judge somebody on the dance. I don't know. Sometimes people tell me, what do you think of this or him or her? And I'm like, I never danced in a cypher with that person. I never danced more a long time. So I cannot have an idea. You know, I think sometimes people they just see a judge demo or something like this and they think, oh, okay. And again, you have performers that will do very nice judge demos, but you put them in a cipher and it's the same as they do in the showcase, but in different order, just
Hmm.
sets.
Hmm.
So can they really freestyle? You know, so I think when you really see somebody, you share with somebody in a cipher or not in a cipher, in a party or even in a dance studio, you dance many times on different style of music, slow, fast, old school, new school. This is where you can really know somebody. So as far as reaching out people, you know, you have social media. It's just how you doing it because sometimes people just send you videos and they want your comment. Most of the time, I don't reply because I'm like, how do you want me to tell you thing on the video? I think the best is to meet people
Yeah.
and get different point of view and uh, don't be afraid about critics. You know, when I, I got when I'm judging dance battles or a contest or stuff like that. You know, like when people tell me, I try to give them my honest opinion, and it's just my opinion.
Hmm.
You know, and my role as a judge is to give you my opinion and why I didn't vote for you or like this. So I think it's just reaching out people, and when you have a chance this is where I think the new generation, sometimes when you have a chance to be in the same event with some dancers, I don't think people use that opportunity as much as we used to do. Because at the time, like when I was going to LA, I was not going for LA for 6 months. I was going there for a few weeks. So as soon as I see somebody, I go. Even if can go with them to eat and talk and get point of views and ideas. And so I think it's when you meet somebody in person, do not hesitate. We never know somebody till we really talk with him and we really dance with him. So I think it's important to meet more than social media.
Right. But like you said, I think it's a good way to begin a connection, but it has to be like more than just, hey, can you critique my video? Because again, I mean, with us it's one thing, but like not everybody is comfortable being on social media and being able to talk technology. So I think it's out of respect as well for the older generation. I'm sure, you know, you start sending OGs a bunch of videos.
A video never give you the real feeling of somebody, you know. So the best is on the spot, and that's one thing. That the only thing I would say for the newer generation is like when you have an opportunity to be in with some people like that you've seen before in the dance and get their point of view. Go and see and share ciphers if you can and see. Get in touch because after, you know, you will see them virtually. So when you have a chance to meet them on the spot, this is where you have to go.
Right. All right, we move on to another question here, talking about going to the source, because we've been talking about going to the source. Who would you recommend one should seek out now to obtain good knowledge on locking?
Everybody from the scene. It can be, of course, the originals, but then you have different, so many people, you know, there's so many people. Of course, the people who have more experiences and who spend more time in the dance, who also have had a direct connection with the originals, can be interesting. But of course, anytime you have a chance to meet some of the originals, that would be my first pick, you know. I learned so much hanging out with Fluky Luke in clubs, spending some time with Shabadoo, spending some time with Greg, Don, and all those guys, like all those originals. So anytime I had a chance to spend some time with the originals is something, you know, but this will give you the original perspective. Now, if you go to some people from different generation, I mentioned her before, but Tash from Canada knows a lot about locking, and she's somebody who's very approachable. You can connect with her. Luz Caboose, also Richie Rich, Anthony Thomas. I can mention a lot of people. If I start to mention names, you know, like Junior in France, anybody you see on the scene, and it can be also new school guys, you know, or girls, you know, you can have like people like just through what you like, go. And if you really love that style, you should go to anybody you can. That's my thing. Like I said before, I was meeting people that are really not connecting to their way to dance, but I was still going there and going to see them and learn from them. So direct connection to anybody who from the scene.
I mentioned this in the last time I did an AMA where somebody asked me, and I always go back to when I first met Richie, and Richie was like, don't let anybody tell you you're doing it wrong, but learn from everybody, because you got always something to learn from somebody. So,
and you never know, you can be surprised, because sometimes you can see, oh, that person is arrogant, or that person is not open, or that person is dancing and thinking like this. You never know till you go.
Yeah.
And you go, you ask the person, you start to talk with the person, you know. I'm talking about the person who are open. If you go and the person is not nice and they don't want to talk with you, but in general, everybody is okay to talk about what we love, you know, and that's the dance. So we go, and even also people who are not into locking, you can learn very nice things. I spend a lot of time with dancers from different genders too, and I get some concept ideas, influence, and inspiration from other dance style too. So just go to what you love and meet as much as you can and connect.
Yeah. And I think that, well, hold on, I lost my train of thought. It's really hard when you got questions coming in and I got questions of my own. What was I going to ask? What were we just talking about? I'm sorry, guys. I'm like, my brain's getting kind of mushy right now. We were talking, what were we just talking about?
connecting to the people and
Okay, when I get that question back in my head, I'll ask it again. I'm gonna move on to something else.
mhm.
But it was a good one. Mm, okay, trying to pick some other questions here. Um, this is maybe a short one, but like, how important is it to speak English in the dance world? For you, what do you think about this? Because I know it's not easy for people who come from other countries that don't understand English. So can you maybe share a
Yes.
little bit of your experiences on this?
Oh, it changed my life when I started to understand what people used to tell me, and because in the beginning I was pretending to understand. I didn't understand nothing when they were like in my first years. First time I went to LA in 2000, my English was very bad. So it's an American culture. English is very important. Of course, you will understand and you will have access to a way more things by learning English. So that's not my first language, but because I love locking, I think it helped me to learn how to speak English. So yes, definitely something to look out.
So, and I think it works the other way around too, because I know, like for me, I live in Montreal. French is the first language. It's always been a challenge for me, but it's something I've had to make an effort to learn. Learn French, even learning Spanish, I think is super important because I know. Shout out to all you guys watching from Latin America. Um, we're trying to do this for everybody, but of course we understand that languages sometimes can be a barrier to our understanding. So thank you guys for being patient with that and understanding.
And one thing I want to say about this, actually, do not be ashamed because you don't speak English. Because I know some people, sometimes they don't even try because they think, oh, but my English is bad, so I don't want to try to talk. Try, don't worry. Like we all, I mean, I passed out. My English was very bad, but I was trying to force, and I was even in some time pretending I understood, but I was like getting into it, and my English was very bad. Trust me. So don't be ashamed. Like they don't speak your language, so you have to learn another language. So normally somebody will understand that you try your best. Try to get into it. Don't feel ashamed because you don't have good English.
Okay. So we got a question from Loic, my man Loic.
Yeah, Loic dans la place.
He asked if you wanted a hard question or a soft question. He gave me a question right here with a devil sign, a devil face. He's like, "What's the situation with the French locking crew or the French locking scene?"
French locking scene. But what is it? Is it a soft one or the hard one? What is
it? Loic, you got to tell us.
Come on, Loic. Tell me what you want to know.
I think he wants to know what the situation is with.
Okay, I will say this. I think the situation is a bit disconnected because, we had different generation in France. I think Loic knows. I know we have a few people who really know the history of locking in France. But sometimes people, they have amnesia. They forget like you were there at that time and you did this and that. So this creates some situation between generations.
He said like specifically with Team Rocket.
Yes, I know he was going there. So, like I said, because of the different generation, Team Rocket they're all in Team Rocket are new school to me. For example, they come like later on, when we disconnect, like when I disconnect with Piloc, for example, because for different point of view, I don't even really know what's the reason, but let's say we disconnect to be fair. And this creates like a disconnect in the scene because now, you have General Almeida, who's the big brother, the one like who the first generation of France. Big respect to him. He's the one who really come from the first generation. I come later on, Pilar came later on, and people come later on, and Loic also, and so we have different generations. We know who's who and who did what. But when we start to be confused, if I start to talk bad about Junior, this creates something wrong. If I tell my student that no, this is what he's doing is wrong, and I create a disconnect. So I think there is like kind of a disconnect things between the generation in France. So this leads to not a full potential development of the French scene. It could have been much better if we have better understanding each other and respect each other. But I personally, I lost respect for Piloc the time when he called me out and he did that bow. And I accept to do it. I was not in my best condition. I was injured and I was not in a good mood, but I still did it. And I was expecting to do a rematch. He didn't want to because he said that he was above me in a way. So to me, this was leading to, that's why I don't have respect for him anymore, because it's like you disrespect him, you know. So doing this, it creates like a disconnect, like that. Some people, they start to think, okay, I'm with Piloc, or I'm with Gemini, or I'm with Locking for Life, and I'm with Team Rocket. So this creates disconnected. We said earlier, unity is the key. Unity is the way to build and for the future of locking. But if we have personal egos in the mix and we start to have disconnect, you know, maybe I did something wrong. I don't know, but I don't really know what's the reason why. But then, as soon as we disconnect with some like major mess.
But you know what, man? Like, and this is kind of, you know, I think we all have a lesson to learn from here, because if we were around when there was this big disconnect between Don and Greg, and there was an issue between them, and you see what happened in those years in the early 2000s when there was that separation between Scramblelock and Don and what, you know, people who were learning from Greg, and there was this huge gap in the scene, and it caused a lot of problems for a long time. And it's like, are we going to let history repeat ourselves, or is there a way that we can kind of like, or at least in France, is there a way to create this?
Probably, but I felt disrespected. I felt like, you know, like in many ways, and I don't know why it was not necessary to do, because I think everybody got enough followers, enough friends, enough fans, enough whatever you want to call that, you know, like everybody was like doing good. So I don't know, but of course I will preach my point of view. Maybe his point of view is different. But as soon as we disconnect, then it starts to make some problem, because now look what happened. You have the Locking for Life people in France. You have Anissa, Felix, Funky J, IC Lock, many others. Like you also have some dancers from Cyprus, like LMC Lockers. There's many people. So now it's create confusion now, because do they go to these events or do they go to our events? Do they go to our, when we try to do things? I know Funky J is doing a lot in France. She's doing a lot of events. She invites some of the members of Team Rocket many times. They do things like we went to their event. I was there the first Pentecost to be the boss. And then even the last one, I think Funky J went there with the many people from Locking for Life, you know, but do they come to our events? It's like, it creates some things now, like, and there's no need. There's no need. I don't have personal problem with any of them. It's just like, it became a situation, then there's the dance, but then you have like to respect people. I think when he started to be disrespected, I could have easily said, I'm not interested in that battle. I came, I was not in a good thing, but that's why I asked for a rematch. He won, he was in a good day, I was not in a good day. Fair enough, let's do another one. And it was actually to clear the situation. He didn't want to, and he put me, and when I had the discussion with him, it was a bit weird what he was telling me. I didn't like what he said. So that's my point of view. If you want to go deeper in the gossip, ask him. But to me, at the end of the day, it's, as far like Loic said about the French scene, this is something who could have been handled better, because there is when it creates like problem between generations like this, it doesn't help the scene to grow. So I think the French scene was much better if it was not that egotistical problem that we have.
I mean, Greg, again, always talked about leaving your ego, check your ego at the door, and don't. It's
And again, I don't want to be here and talk bad about them. I just say that I don't even know how this starts. I have my point of views. I did an interview with Yuval, and we went deep into it. I say everything I thought about it. And how do we, we don't need to work together. We don't need to see each other. But when we don't do things for the scene together, this is where it's a problem, Like, I think for the locking scene. Thank you, Lloyd, for the question. Really...
Again, it's important to at least bring this up. Again, in my last AMA, I mentioned, we as dancers, young dancers, I think it's important to kind of stay away from the politics. But for the older people in the scene, this is part of what is going on. And I think it's important to be aware of it. Not to get too involved, but also to be able to still have a discussion about it. Because if we don't talk, this is how the problems get worse. And I think it's important to still...
And when I was dancing with Jeremy, we didn't dance together anymore. Manu used to dance with Loic. When they separate, this also creates some things. Like there's many aspects, but that's life,
Yep.
As long as we can just maintain the minimum, and respect each other. But when respect being crossed, a lot of people didn't like that situation. A lot of people wanted to do things, and I was like, no, we're gonna move on because I don't want to stay in a negative thing. But for the French scene, it could have been much better because it put people in certain situations like they have to choose. That's why I dislike about it.
Yeah, now this is interesting.
Problem. I don't. For me, it doesn't change a lot of things, but for the scene, it could have been better. Now, maybe one day we will manage that situation better. I'm up for it. So
now this is an interesting thing because you're talking about being called out, right? And I saw a comment below about respecting your elders, not calling out. And if we think about a few weeks ago in the fiction versus flat top battle that took place, and then J-Rock jumped in and all this, but a lot of the issue was about the younger generation calling out the old school generation. And I saw a question in here today. Somebody asked about what do you think about call-outs, and is it good to call out? Why are there not enough call-outs in the scene today? Or because it's a topic of, again, balance, because do we go and call out the older school generation? Because not everybody feels comfortable doing this, but then at the same time, call-outs can also be good too. So let's talk about this a little bit more deeply.
Yes, to me it's part of the culture. I have no problem with call-outs. Recently I was watching, watching a video of an interview of Shabadoo, and he was explaining that when Greg asked him to call out or turn out FNM, he was mentioning that story. So originals did it. So why locking have to be different? Of course, I'm not talking about they used to do that all the time, but in certain case, if you keep it clean and respectable, I don't see a problem with that. Now the question is, when I accept against Pillock, it's not from my generation. I could have said no, but then I played the game because at first it was not supposed to be a battle. It was to be like a showcase together, facing each other, but like in a showcase way. But then when I went there, it turned out into something different. This is where I disagree with a lot of things, because it was like not a straight up like let's do it. It was more like it turned into something different, for instance. But I don't have problem with call out. Of course, I will not suggest call out people into your league. When it turned into something disrespectful, I don't like sometimes it's not a good way to call out the judge because you don't. I don't see that many times these type of things I don't agree with. It turns negative. But when it's like in your league, I used to call out Flowmaster all the time in cyphers and things, till a point he was bored of me. I was always going into, because I wanted to challenge myself with him. I never had any problem with him as somebody I really like, actually. So I never had any problem with him, but it was just to challenge myself. But when it's based on something negative, this is where challenge somebody, to me, is not a problem. But challenging with wrong ideas, negative things, this, I don't like it. So again, depends. I've seen you call out people in ciphers and people didn't even respond. Somebody from Team Rocket, actually. So, you know, it's sometimes it can be it's part of the street dance. It's a street dance. It's not academic dance. So in the streets, you know, you in the street culture, you want to test yourself. You want to challenge somebody for good reasons. I'm for it. If it's not good reasons, maybe not.
Right. No, I agree. I mean, I've learned never to call out the older generation. You know, it's like a sign of disrespect. But like you said, in your league, like, because for me, I always thought call outs as like a way of testing myself and helping me get better skill. I call
out my student all the time, and you know that. I call out my student all the time, and it's to make them to push them.
I think the context has to be, we have to be in the right situation for these kind of things, right? You're not gonna, like you say, call out the judge because you lost the battle and then go have a temper tantrum.
Yes. But you know, like it's part of the culture. Maybe nowadays, because there's no ciphers and call out can be seen as a negative thing. Again, if it's, you have the good call outs and then you have the bad call outs, in my opinion. You know, like sometimes it doesn't look good, you know, and you can see when the vibe is not appropriate. So.
Yeah, it's a good discussion on this. I think is a good thing to talk about, because I don't think we haven't really talked about this too much. Okay, this is coming from Kai Star. This is a quick question, but who has the Monopoly record? You or Richie?
Recently, Richie beat me up. Okay, I give it to Richie. Not only Monopoly, in checkers, in other games, like he was on fire. The last time I went to his home, he kicked my ass, so I give it to Richie.
All right, let's bring it back a little bit more.
I'll come back. I will come back for it.
Oh yeah, for you guys that don't know, there's this like ongoing Monopoly battle, like the game Monopoly. Gemini and Richie have played over the years.
Checkers, air hockey. It was crazy.
It's insane. I think Yao Bai, I know you mentioned you played with Yao Bai in Taiwan.
IP Lockers, my bros from Taiwan. Yeah, we went at it also.
You guys are very competitive.
Yes.
We had a food eating competition once, and
food competition. You see, you can battle with everybody. It was just stupid ideas, but did it. So.
Okay, I'm gonna just get a few more questions in because I think we're coming near the end of this. But this goes out to both of us, but I'd prefer you to answer this first, because what do you look for in a dancer when you're judging a locking competition that puts them above the rest? What is it of your philosophies that you're implementing when you look at somebody dancing in a locking battle or in a locking contest?
Okay, connection with the music will be my first. Like, are you dancing to the music, to the beat, as the minimum to be the beat, but dance to the music, be in sync with the music, locking content. You know, you can be a great dancer, a great dancer, but if you don't bring the locking content in a locking format battle, that's what I'm looking for. You know, like really connect with the music, locking. I can see the locking DNA, like I can see the locking style. And then on top of that, I want to be entertained. Like I want to see like some skills, locking skills. I want to show me some stuff like in the locking. If you show me something outside of locking, I will wait for you to do something with locking. So just interpretation of the music, locking skills, locking content needs to be. I want to see a lot of things, and I want to be entertained as a judge. I want to be on my seat and be like excited of what's going on, you know. And I've seen many times like great battles. So when you see really good lockers going at it and going and showing and challenging themselves and their opponent, if we can say that, this is what I'm looking for. Like really good, like you know, like really good moment, and of course creativity. And momentum when you really see like great, and it can be any styles. I don't have a favorite style. I will not judge for my favorite style. I don't have really one favorite style. I love many ways, many styles, and many flavors of locking. I just want to be entertain and some different, like when you see different type of music in bells, as soon as you have the funk DNA, it makes it interesting for me. Can you do a solo different than the first one? Can you display different locking flavor, locking technique? Can you show me some traditional locking? Can you go back into can you display different flavors and stuff like content? Connection with the music, content, lock, and then I want to be entertained with your skills.
Okay. Loic keeps on asking this question, and I know he really wants in. He wants you to answer this question. I'm sorry to go back to our previous discussion, but I got to do it. I know it's happened before. Locking for Life battled Team Rocket, right? It happened a few years ago. He says, if it was to happen again, who would you like to see battle in Locking for Life, and who would you like to see in Team Rocket? Like if they were to battle each other.
Who's in Team Rocket now? Who will be Team Rocket? Like who are they? Like I don't know who are the members really now. So, but anytime, any day. We can provide many teams with Locking for Life. Actually, we have a lot of dancers, so we can make many teams. Do they want it? Because the first time that was their idea. They wanted to call out Locking for Life, and I was not in France. I was overseas, couldn't go, and Yuri from Japan take my spot. You can watch the battle. To me, it's clear, but anytime, any day. Do they want to battle? Because last time I tell you call out one of their member and they didn't even reply. So do they really want that? Because Loic wants to know, yeah, but I'm okay. And you know me, Loic. No problem. Let's go. Let's do it.
So
but do this will help the situation? I don't know. But I'm definitely positive that Locking for Life is ready, and for a long time. We can be more than ready for that. So it's up to them if they want a challenge.
But he also wants to know like who you think would be good pair ups for battles, like who from which team would pair up good with a battle from the other side. You know what I mean?
Vovan, Funky J, LMC Lockers, myself, yourself. How many? 5-on-5, 6-on-6?
But who do you think would be a good matchup against whom? You know what I mean? Like if it was a one-on-one, let's say.
I know Locking for Life. I know my people. I don't really know the Team Rocket skills. No, I will definitely go on Pilog for sure. The rest I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I don't know. To be honest, I don't follow them. I don't know what they're doing. I don't want really to talk about them, so I don't know what they do. But
I think we'll leave it at that.
Yes, I cannot talk for them. You should ask them what will be their squad, because for me, like I told you, there's many teams. Locking for Life, we can make many teams, so I have many options. So
okay,
and from different generations.
So we'll have.
I'm sure Richie Rich will be even, or Anthony Thomas, like some guys like this will be up for it. So we have many options. So no, it's a good question, but I cannot talk for them.
Yeah.
That's their thing. So.
Okay, so there's
Loic!
You got your answer, so we'll move on. I think this will be the last question for today, because we did go for a long time, and I thank you for being here, for being able to do this.
Thank you for the invitation, Scramble.
Man.
For the people to watch it.
I think it's important that we just have these discussions, but I guess first of all, we talked about it the last AMA as well. Let's talk about Locking for Life itself, right? Because I don't know, it's been over 12 years now when you came out with it in 2008, right? It's been almost 12 years.
A little bit before, but we came out like as far as worldwide and things like, yes, more like, but early 2000, we were already working on it with Priska.
Right. So
we started to work on it during the process of Obsessive Funk.
Right. So what I want to know is like, if you were to give for somebody who doesn't know, who's watching you right now, but they see Locking for Life everywhere. They see the shield. They don't fully understand what Locking for Life is about. How would you describe it? Because you're the one that came up with this concept. You're the one that has represented it from day one. You're the one that's passed it on to all of us. You know, when you explained it to me, I was like, I'm down 100%. I'm in this, you know, because I understand kind of where you came from and what you were doing with that. But for people who are watching that don't fully understand what Locking for Life is, can you please give some clarity on that? Because again, even in 2020, there's still some...
Yes, but I understand this because it's not a crew, is nothing like that was existing before. It's just open concept, open movement to empowered locking. That's how I will describe it, like the simplest way I can. It's just to help the shield concept, because I create Locking for Life with Priska, and the shield concept, the idea behind it is to reinforce locking and put it back on the forefront. When we start Locking for Life in the early 2000s, locking was in a bad state. Some even people like DJ Renegade used to call that, say that locking is in a coma. And we try by many ways with actual trends, actual concept, and by nourishing locking with new idea, new concept. We didn't create everything, but we just tried to empower locking. So the idea was to bring back locking strong and break a lot of stereotype. Like people used to think locking needs to be done on James Brown only. Locking needs to be super happy. Locking needs to be dressed with a lot of colors and stripy socks. I remember, I'm talking about the time when people used to say, if you don't have stripy socks, you cannot lock. You have to have stripy socks to dance locking. You have to dance to James Brown only. Jamiroquai at the time, for example, was not a locking song. So it took time, and I think Locking for Life helps not only us, but we help those ideas to come, even to do the battles. You know, locking was a party dance. You just do Soul Train line. You have to dress with stripy socks. You have to do only foundation move, and you cannot dance to other things than James Brown. And so we agree on that. But at the same time, we wanted to explore, and as later on we called it artistic development for a lifestyle. As Don Campbell say, be creative. So we develop ideas to make locking stronger, or at least to develop the style. So the ideas of countries were not my idea. It's when I travel that people from different countries, they wanted to join, and how they can support and things. And it's not even my idea to have a Locking for Life Brazil, Locking for Life France, Locking for Life Italy, Locking for Life Japan. It was not my idea. It was just people who really want to connect to what we were doing at the time, because many people like those ideas, like to dance to different styles of music, to be able to do battles, because some people, they were against it. And we wanted to respect the past, so respect the origin of the dance, live the present time, and build the future. Mm-hmm. Everything combined. Mm-hmm. So it's like, you can call it a movement. I don't know everybody from Locking for Life, and there's some people that represent Locking for Life, and I barely met them. Sometimes they're connected from other people, other members, because we have ambassadors in many countries. I do not. I'm not like, I mean, you have many interpretation of the locking style inside Locking for Life. The people who represent Locking for Life, I'm not 100,000% with everybody. Like sometimes, like some dancers, they use certain type of music. I'm not feeling it, but they're feeling it. So it brings different layers. So I'm not like, everybody is free to develop their own idea. That's why we create a family type of vibe, to be active, like I said earlier, for the future of locking, to develop ideas. And we always talk about support each other and things like this. And that's why I said earlier, this is my philosophy that I share with many people. And sometimes you have people, they live in certain countries when the scene is very poor, they need information. So we have experiences. So we help them out to build up the scene over there. And by different manners. It can be events, it can be knowledge, it can be anything. It's just to develop the style and the ideas. And we all do that behind that shield to push locking on the forefront.
Right. And it's about pushing the scene too. And I know that sometimes, we're hearing things of coming when we're getting a lot of different lockers, like you said, that you don't know in the scene in different countries, and it's like, how can we scale locking for life to grow so that it still remains within the individual scenes and keep those individual scenes identities without taking away from what those scenes have contributed in the past, and without causing more problems, because I think this is another thing that we have to be aware of too.
Yes, because the thing is, like, it's the biggest network for locking in the world right now, and you can see what we do, especially you are a very important person in Locking for Life, because when you see the main page on Instagram, we share everybody we could, unless somebody do not want to be affiliated with us. It doesn't mean because we share a video that it's my student. It doesn't mean like we can share. I support people. I can see some people supporting Locking for Life. I don't know them, but it's somebody who lives in a country when locking is a small scene, and he likes what we do, and he just want to be connected. And by our network, you can have more people seeing you. Also, the ideas of the countries on Facebook or Instagram, when you have Locking for Life Russia, Locking for Life Spain, and everything, is to, if you are a locker and you're traveling and you go to Spain, for instance, you can use that platform to connect with lockers in Spain.
Yep.
In Spain, you have Isaskun, for example, you have Roger, you have VCN Lock, they are family. We just work together. They support our event, we support them, and we try to make the things growing in Spain. And then the same thing in Italy, the same thing in France, same thing everywhere. And because we, again, unity, like Tash said before, it's if we work together, like in Canada with Lock Unity, with Tash, when Tash came to many Locking for Life events and things, and it's good for everybody. In India, you have Rocky doing a lot of things and stuff. There's too many people to mention. I'm sorry, because there's too many people.
There's tons.
But Boban in Russia, and then you have some students of Boban doing their events and doing their things and doing their videos and things. So it's building a generation of people under that shield. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that they are related to me, or they're like they have to stop their cruise. There's many crews, or when you see Funky J, for example, she represents different crews. She's in Badness, and she's also Lady Rocks, and she Locking for Life also, So you have ambassadors, are the people who are doing more things under the Locking for Life, and we work more together. And then you have the people who are supporting. And if you have a locking event, if we have a page from your country, you can share. Actually, right now I'm working with 5 or 6 more countries who wants to join Locking for Life, because they see what we did in many countries. We don't come we come to help the people and to connect them to our network and what we do. We have many events. We have more than 15 events during the year. So we can help you out to have a qualification. We work together. We just work together, and everybody is welcome. Everybody is welcome, and that's like a big movement, and this is the biggest network right now.
Yep. So hopefully that brought a little bit more clarity in people who didn't really understand.
I understand it's a bit complicated because it's not a crew. It's not like a group we close and it's like who is in, who is not.
Yeah.
You have people, they just support. They're not in or out, they just support.
Right. But then I guess maybe because there were battles with, they were called Locking for Life, that kind of got mixed up. So I think it's important that there is this, like you said, there's the ambassadors, there's the family aspect, and then there is an aspect of people who are representing in battles as Locking for Life too. So. And
also we respect and we practice many styles, many flavors. Sometimes people get confused because of the Locking for Life Los Angeles with the ballet style and thing. It's not just the style we propose. We like actually the philosophy about flavor that we talked earlier. This is totally part of Locking for Life. If you're creative, you have an event, we can support. You do locking in any ways, we can work together. That's the thing. That's the idea. You have an event, you put a locking battle. If we can help you out, we will bring some people to enter the battle and come. That's why we support. No matter if there's politics or not, we try to support events and stuff.
Hold up, G, hold up.
You've been to Cyprus. You've been to Cyprus. It's a very small country, but you can see here a lot of lockers here. It's maybe the number one dance. You have a lot of talented lockers. Shout out to the rebel dancers, Maestro, and all the work you do with the kids. You've been here, Scramble. You see, it's a very small country. I came here, and then I found people who love the style, LMC lockers. Shout out to them. And then we push, and now they've become like people. They influence other people and stuff. So
it's crazy, man.
Just fun.
Yo, G, we got about a minute left, and I don't want to start up a new live because I think it's time to go. So I just want to thank everybody who's joined in this discussion. I think we're going to end it here. Guys, it was great. You asked some great questions. G, I'm going to leave it to you to give the final words. You got 1 minute left, so say what you need to say.
Thank you, everybody, for watching it. I hope you like it, and I hope to meet you in the future. Shout out to everybody. Again, Don Campbell, rest in peace. And I hope this was interesting to you. And like I said again, next time we meet, do not hesitate. Let's communicate, let's share, and let's make blocking even bigger and stronger. Much love to everybody. Thank you very much.
Yes. Thank you, guys. Stay tuned. I'll hopefully do another AMA soon. Wash your hands. Stay safe. Keep practicing, and we'll talk soon.
Keep practicing. And actually, I will try to share more content in the next week. I will try to share more things.
Don't forget.
Many people they asked me to share more things, so I will do it.
Follow Locking for Life on Instagram. Follow Locking for Life on Facebook.
Shout out to Loic for the spicy questions.
All right, guys. Peace, everybody. Enjoy your weekend.
Bye.
Bye-bye.